Why even bother with exercise? It takes up time. Time I could spend working and increasing my income. It's tiring. Why do weights have to be so heavy? Wouldn't it just be much easier if I could take a pill or some drug that makes me immediately buff? I had that mindset for about a year and a half. I used to pride myself on always maintaining somewhat of a decent physique, but for a year and a half, mainly due to lockdown, I let myself go. I had that skinny fat look where I'm not muscular, I'm not overweight, I'm not strong. So arms, noodly, droopy, chest, I got titties, I got some man breastises. Stomach is a luck off. Belly, side belly, like love handles on the side. You can jump on top of me, start cycling away. I do wish I took more pictures just so I can do like a before and after style. But in a way, I feel like I didn't want to capture this downfall. So the way I noticed that my physique wasn't quite right, every time I hopped out the shower, for example, and I looked at myself, I would notice like I've got a double chin, lotion up myself. If I were to use my feet finder, let's say down to the shop, that 10-minute walk would ruin me. I'd come back just breathing so heavily. My legs are aching, like carrying the bag, my arms are tired, and I'm out of breath. So considering all of this on the physical side, my mental state, we do not even want to get into that. I don't trust my subscribers yet now. We'll get into that in future. Because the view of my current self at that time was in constant conflict with my previous self, and it was time for an overhaul on my mindset, on my physique. I'd gotten so used to life without any physical activity, so I knew this would be a real challenge. And I understood that this time it would have to be different. Because although in the past I'd always worked out, I'd never really pushed myself. I don't know what my limit is, how far my pain threshold truly is. Back then I would go for a month pretty consistently, and then I would take 2 weeks off, and then I'd go for a week, take another week off. You get the idea. It would not be optimal. So starting slow was the main objective. I didn't want to go too hard when I'd been a sloth for the better part of 18 months. I started off with very light weights, teenage boy weights. And also, I just wasn't strong enough. So I had to go light, and I would always include an element of cardio. I'd go for a little walk after on the treadmill or use the bike. So I remember the first week of me being back in the gym. It was brutal. Everything hurt. I couldn't even brush my teeth or hold a mug up properly to drink some cocoa. My arm would just be shaking. I wasn't able actually to bend my bicep at all because it just couldn't really. I hadn't trained that muscle for over a year. And let's not forget about the legs, the cassava holders. Oh my days. The legs were brutal, just shaking. I couldn't really stand up straight. I was hobbling around like a little goblin. And it's not as if I went hard whatsoever, but if you've ever taken time off working out and you get back into it, you know what I mean. That initial pain is something else. But I understood that this is the painful part before we get to the honey, before we get to the sweetness, before we get to the actual real gain. So I carried on. 1 week was complete pain. The second week was complete pain. Week 3 completed, still hurts, still sore, but not as much. It's not as intense as week number 1. And we finally reached that 4-week, 1-month area where we actually go to the gym and it doesn't hurt. Finally. As I mentioned, my mindset was having an overhaul. I understood that this belly, this juice would take a long time. Getting rid of love handles is no easy thing. I'd never let myself go this bad. I'd been in the worst physical shape I'd ever been in my life. I gave myself plenty of time. I wasn't going to be hard on myself. I wasn't going to beat myself up if I'm not strong enough to lift the weight I used to lift. This made a huge difference. It made me want to go. It made me want to keep practicing. It made me want to improve my technique. And having this more lax mentality improved everything. I knew that every single time I went, I was getting that little bit closer to lifting what I used to lift. And every single time I would attend, I'm making a little bit of progress. Side note, I don't actually have one of those full body mirrors you may have in your house. I have like those little makeup ones. I just have never invested in getting a big mirror. So I don't actually see my physique. I just see my face. So I couldn't actually gauge if my love handles would go in or not. And frankly, I didn't really want to know. Because although the obvious thing is to lose the weight and reduce my body fat percentage, toned arms, a nice muscular back, a chiseled chest, I didn't want getting to that stage to be the end point. I didn't want to set a goal, reach the goal, and then that's it. I wanted to transform the person I actually am. I wanted to become someone who has a muscular back and carry on my life as someone who has a muscular back, has a chiseled chest, has essentially become someone who works out for life. So why even train? Why do I train? I'm not competing. I'm not trying to be a professional bodybuilder. I'm not a professional athlete. And I'm not going to state the obvious of how exercise benefits you, blah, blah, blah. Although I train because I want to become someone who trains. That needs to be ingrained in my psyche. So, oh, who are you? Oh yeah, I'm Levi. I've got brown eyes. I've got luscious, soft black hair. 6'6". Oh, and he's a man who works out. And that's a part of his identity. And if you ever see me with like titties in public and I'm just looking hella skinny fat, honestly, just call the police, have me arrested, because I lied and I let you people down.